We'll call the Facilities Committee meeting to order at 6:30 PM. Roll call.
Stephanie Olson,
Here.
David Pombo,
Here.
Jason Dixon,
Here.
Thorsten Harrison,
Here.
Munir Udine,
Here.
Prabjot Madan.
Here.
Receiving of public comments. I don't see anybody present to make a comment, so we will move on to item 4, facility use update. Item A, facility use minutes 9/21/23, staff report.
So attached to the minutes, if anybody has any adjustments or comments on the minutes before they're approved.
No comments. Moving on to item B, finance report, staff report.
So in your packet, we have the finances for facility use. You can see that we have a balance of $398,189. We still have an encumbrance on there of $46,500. And I'll just remind the committee, I think Mr. Pombo was the only one on the committee when we did this last. It was for the redo of Lammersville Field, where the softball diamond is, in that grass area. And we haven't done that activity yet. And then there will be another expense coming. As you are aware, this group and the board approved the changes to the pool, which are happening right now, the cement and the 2 additional gates at the pool. That'll hit for the next meeting.
Speaking of the Lammersville work that hasn't been done yet, is there a date or a timeline on that?
Not right now, because we need to figure out what's going to happen with the portables. We have to do some work on portable 10 and 11. That's pending. And then we did the analysis for the modernization for parts of Lammersville, and at some point there was a drawing with a ramp that went down along the grass area. So if we do something, it probably will not be all the way up to the southern blacktop. And the other thing that we were trying to figure out is, when we made the proposal and we had the group come out and give us a estimate, we didn't realize how the water out there, the irrigation ran, and it was connected to the warehouse. So there are some different things that we have to do with plumbing before we fix the irrigation in that field. And then we're also going to have to move our plan was to move the backstop from its current corner straight across to the other corner, and then put in grass. So there were some infrastructure things that we have to do with plumbing before we do the irrigation work, before we put in the new grass and move the backstop.
All right. Anyway, I was at Lammersville for their Harvest Carnival a couple of weeks ago, and some areas in the field are pretty uneven with old gopher holes and stuff like that. And I was hoping that we could float some sand or topsoil or something over that to fill in some of those, because that's...
We can do that. And the other thing that we're going to have to do is we're going to have to come back with a new quote, because I guarantee this quote is not accurate now. Everything is so much more expensive than it was, 2 years ago.
Yeah, or 2 hours ago.
Yes. So I'm probably going to have to get a new quote and bring it here and go through it again as well. So.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions or comments before we move on? None? All right, moving on to item C, facility usage reports from 9/13/2023 to 10/24/2023.
So Jason Dixon is going to give that report.
Okay, thank you. So as you can see on this first page here, the hourly usage, typically our largest block of time is the 3 to 8 block, which makes sense after school and all the events and everything. And then it falls off there. And then as we go through just the various facilities, our high school is the one that's used the most. Our small and large gyms have the most permits. I know when we look at the high school on here, it shows the theater. The theater is just blocked out, so we don't have a specialist for the theater, so we're not using that for civic permits, allowing the community to use it. But the small and large gyms have the most permits. The learning commons and the pool, pretty much the second most at this time. And then for all the elementary schools, the fields and the NPRs are the areas that are being used the most.
Any questions?
Just curious to know why the theater is not available. Is a recent change or it has been like that? I don't know because I'm just curious.
So I'm not aware of if it's a recent change. I'm pretty new, but the reason why we're not at this moment is because we don't have a theater specialist. We've got a lot of equipment in there, and that we have to have someone specifically to be able to operate that equipment so it doesn't get broken and all that. And so we don't have someone to operate that equipment right now.
So I'll add, previously we had a position that actually I think came out of this committee, a theater specialist that goes in there to work all the light boards and sound boards, which, you know, you have to have a lot of training to be able to do that. We had somebody that was hired as a part-time employee. Now that person is gone. We haven't found a replacement yet. And we can't let people use that unless we have our people using the equipment. Yeah.
Does that also apply to like equipment, like PA system at like the stadium if somebody were to rent, you know, for football games?
Well, I'll answer that one. Yes, we've had a conversation about that, and I know it's brought forward. There's some concerns about the stadium PA and sound system, and the gym PA and sound system. And I met with Sean Johannan, who is our director of technology, who's been out there and was a part of the installation at the gym and the stadium when we put in the new speaker systems. And what he told me is oftentimes when it's used by outside parties, they don't know how to use it correctly. So sometimes what they do is they turn the volume up too high, and the amp has a security device where if it goes too high, it automatically trumps back down to a lower level, and it makes the system sound different and not sound good. So we've come up with a plan when individuals want to use the football stadium and the press box with the PA system, or want to use the gym with the PA system. We're going to have on the Civic permits a box they have to check. Yeah, we're going to use that. Then what's going to happen is one of the tech people are going to set a time to train them how to use it so they use it correctly, so they don't, because we've tested it, and I think it's a user error, not a system error, because of moving the knobs. I'm not an expert. I don't know how that works, but the tech guys are going to assign someone to do a training, and it's going to be a part of the Civic permit sign up, which his crew will handle setting up with the tech guys so that they know how to use it right.
Will that training be an additional cost, like part of their time?
You know, at this point, we haven't set an additional cost. I think we probably ought to figure out what we're doing first before we do that, you know, and just try it out. If it starts taking too much staff time, I think then we could say, okay, let's use this amount of fee because it's taking us an hour.
I should know the answer to this question, but I don't. Is the press box an extra fee? Mm-hmm. Okay, so we could blend that, any extra fee, into a revised
Yes.
fee for the sound system at either the gym or the...
You bet. And I think what we're going to do is when we have a group using it, like youth football or whatever at the football stadium, we'll practice, we'll try it out, and then the next time that we release permits, we'll change and it'll come here first, obviously, because it's a change in our handbook. It'll come here, and then we'll start fresh. We don't want to drop something on people, right? And we got to get good at it as well. So we'll figure that all out, figure out how much time it costs us, and then the next time we have a fresh release of permits and use, and this group's approved it, then we'll go.
All right.
And the MPR sound systems we have, does it include with the facility rental or does it separate one?
Yes, it's
Or is it included in there? I don't know.
yes. The microphone.
Yeah, the microphones.
Yeah, it's included, correct? Yeah.
Included, okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like, I have seen, like, a lot of times, meaning is that they don't know how to operate one, and sometimes it's not available or it's not included, they did not check, I don't know how
Well,
different.
maybe what we need to do is include that when people use the NPR. You're going to use the microphone and do the same process. We don't have a checkbox for that, do we, for NPRs on whether to use the microphone or not? Yeah. So yeah, we'll do all of that at the same time and figure it out. I think that's probably a good plan. Yeah. Yep.
All right, anything else with the?
Just to clarify, I'm not advocating extra charges or how much they should be. I'm only advocating that if we have an extra expense or extra staff time, that it should be accounted for, because we shouldn't be subsidizing our renters.
Sean and I had an initial conversation about that. Our director of IT, Sean, we talked about that, and we want to figure out what it's going to cost us first.
Yeah.
So we'll do an analysis and we'll get it standardized and then go from there.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Good. And that was everything, right? I didn't get your,
Yes.
okay, all right, great. Moving on then to item D, denied applications, staff report.
Okay, so the list there, we had, during that time frame, have 13 denied permits. Mostly, they submitted for, like in the first one here, the group may resubmit for available NPR. Whatever they were wanting was not available. So that's pretty much most of them.
Okay, any questions?
So does it, like, when we have this application, right, just curious to know that our systems doesn't show us like when it is available, when it is not available while booking, to avoid this kind of rejections, like upfront, we say, okay, this is available on this date and this time, so they book it instead of picking up where it's not available.
It will sometimes. I think they just like misread it when they're on there, and
User
they
error.
just try to get it when someone else is using it during a certain time frame. Sometimes we have, and there are sometimes issues where schools need it, for whatever reason. So then they take precedence. So that kind of kicks them out of it. And it gives the same reason right there. So it could be either one of those.
The other reason is no custodial support, right? So if we don't have somebody that can work overtime or have custodial support, then somebody that has put in a permit, it may get canceled because we couldn't find a body to be there to cover the event.
So when do we find out that the custodians will be available at a certain time? I mean, like, let's say that I'm trying to book an event for next week. So would that is that information available online when I, as an applicant, I'm trying to fill that information, fill the form?
No, so what happens is your group would apply for an NPR, and then you get the permit approved, and then we put that out to the custodians at the site. If any of those custodians can't cover it, we offer it to the other custodians in the district to try to get someone to cover it. Then if we can't get coverage, we have to come back to the group and say we have to deny your permit
Got it.
because we don't have the coverage for it. Sometimes the earlier you put in a permit, the better. We get some permits 2 or 3 days ahead of time. It's hard to find coverage 2 or 3 days ahead of time.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot of timing issues in there as well.
Couple of clarifying questions. The custodians, their coverage is completely voluntary, correct?
Correct.
It's overtime, and so it's
Correct.
voluntary, so if nobody volunteers, then there's no coverage. Second clarifying question, if a group is denied the use of an NPR because it's not available, they're offered other NPRs that are available during the time that they are requesting, correct?
Correct. So what we'll do is we'll contact that group and say, we don't have this one here at Altamont, for example, but we have this one here at Bethany. If that'll work for you, then they have to just resubmit the application for Bethany.
Thank you.
Any further questions from? Okay. Then moving on to item E, reimbursements to organizations.
Okay. And so during that time frame, we only had one organization that we had to do a refund for.
Any questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 5, information and discussion items. Item A, Montessori School Cuesta, staff report.
So at the last facilities meeting, the representative from Montessori came and asked this group if they could put signage up on our Cuesta Preschool Center that they've used in good standing for, my understanding is over 10 years. And this group agreed that yes, that we would be willing to agree to something. And that was brought to board last night, and the board approved with a modified sign that staff felt would be safer to put on the wall than what the Montessori had created. So I just wanted to make sure everybody saw the results of what the board approved for the Cuesta preschool building that Montessori has used and rented from us. My intent is to communicate with the director of the Montessori, let her know what we agreed to, and then when she has the sign made, I'm going to make sure our staff is there when the sign goes up, because I don't want any mistakes made with how it's posted on the building, and I don't want any damage done to our building when they put the sign up.
Any questions or comments from the committee? No. Okay. All right. Moving on, item B, civic permits warning letter, staff report.
So I'm going to let Jason talk about this, but I just want to let the group know that in the case where we have a group violate our rules, we have a handbook that dictates how our facilities are to be used by people that use our facilities. And when our facility is used inappropriately or inappropriate things occur, our first order of business is to communicate with that group, both verbally and in writing, and let them know what we believe occurred, have a conversation. Most of the time we have video proof of what occurred, or we have staff eyewitness, because our staff are always at these events. And so what I wanted to share with the committee is we had a group that did a couple things at the high school that are not allowed. And Jason communicated with the group, informed them, made sure they understood, hey, this is a warning, this is how we do things. They were very apologetic. In one of the aspects, they did not have control of what occurred, but they're responsible to have control. So I'm taking your thunder. Go ahead. Jason, this is the letter that Jason gave to the group.
Okay, so I did give this letter to the group through email and through certified mail as well. And like Thor was saying, it was because there was 2 items that were brought to our attention after they had their event, and one was that there were horses on the track in field area. Those horses, as it turns out, were brought by the sheriff's department. So the group did ask the sheriff's department to come. There was about 1,800 people, so it's a security thing. They didn't ask for the horses. They didn't know they were going to show up, and so there was sort of this, miscommunication there. My communication to the group was that they invited the sheriff's department to come. They're responsible, even though it is the sheriff's department, they're responsible for, still following the rules, and the rules specifically state because of animals, higher insurance premiums and prior approval. And they understood. And then the second was there was an eyewitness of a tent that was held down by pegs in the turf. Now, I couldn't verify that on video. Our video isn't clear enough there, but there was an eyewitness for that. So I did include that, and I talked to them about that as well. And they totally agreed that, it will not happen again. So before I sent this letter out, I called the group, spoke with Amish, who heads it up. Really good guy. We talked for quite a while. I told him he would be getting this letter, so it wasn't a surprise. And then when he got it, we had another conversation. We just kind of went through everything and talked. We did come up with a plan for next time, and I think for any of our larger groups that will do it, is we'll take the facilities handbook down to the walkthrough, and then we'll go through these specific items and sort of have a checklist where they initial, hey, this is what we talked about. So then if something happens again, then it's a little more ahead of time that we had that discussion.
Yeah, I have seen that event. Exactly, you're talking about the community doing, and the horses were there for the sheriff, I think, sheriff department. So do they inform us, or is just they come like just for public safety?
So the sheriff's department didn't inform anyone that they were bringing horses, so no one knew that was going to happen. Another item of that is that our custodians should have known too, so I did take some of that responsibility. And so that's a retraining on their part that they get that we're gonna have is they're empowered to enforce those rules. So they should walk around and check all the tents as well as a secondary backup. They should, if they see horses or any other kind of animals, you know, they're empowered to say you can't have those on the grounds, and then call us if need be. But yeah, no one was aware that was going to happen. It just sort of happened, and I don't think no one knew to tell the sheriff they couldn't do it. You know, and so
Well, I'm envisioning an interesting conversation between a custodian and a sheriff's officer.
Yeah,
that
Yeah, that's a little-
You know, so that was where I was understanding of that situation, and so that's why we just have a retraining, you know, kind of explain what's allowed and what's not allowed.
And I'll add to that, one of the things that we are discussing in our meetings is having an employee, when you have those really big events, having a supervisor there, one of our maintenance or operations supervisors, or actually Jason or Jimmy, one of those individuals there, because, you know, somebody like Jason or myself would not have a problem going and saying, you can't have the horses here because you only have $2 million in liability insurance. If you have an animal, it's supposed to be $5. It's supposed to be $5 million. So we're talking about how we figure out the logistics and figure out how and if we need to adjust the charges and things like that at a later date. Luckily, we only have right now that one big event that happens each year now. But we got to have a plan that's a little better, because we learned from this event as well some of the things that we can do a little better as well.
Well, a lot of these situations are new to everyone, so there's still a learning curve with all of it.
There's no permanent damage done, though, I'm assuming, with throwing the stakes on the turf or anything, okay.
So I see a small exception here. Working animals shall be admitted as appropriate. So working, does that mean like service animals or?
Service animals for people that are blind or people that have cognitive disabilities, and they need a service animal to keep them calm or safe, and they have to be licensed through the state of California.
Okay, so that information has to be submitted along with their form, whichever they are submitting for renting a facility, right? I'm assuming?
If an individual has a service animal, they're allowed entry
Okay, they are, got it.
to anything, to school, to any event really. If you have a service animal that's licensed and you need that animal, they are pretty much admitted.
I think in the eyes of the law, the service animal basically becomes an extension of the person.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, anything further? Comment? Okay, so item C, banners, tiered fee system, staff report?
So at the last facilities meeting, I brought forward the banner authorization form. One of the things that's happening at our school sites is there's businesses moving into Mountain House, and Mountain House is getting populated with more people and more businesses. And when you go by Cuesta School and look at the front of the school, when I went the last time and took pictures for the presentation I gave at the last meeting, there were 13 banners on that fence, and it looked like Wrigley Field. It looked like the outfield of a baseball field. And many moons ago, this group, when I first started, we talked about advertising and for activities for our kids on the fences. And one of the rules that we had previously was you had to have a nonprofit number, and you had to be a nonprofit organization and meet the needs and the mission of our school district. So things like soccer, things like swimming, things like cross country that you see up there, track, or tutoring, or things of that nature, coding classes, summer school classes. And so at that time, we kind of pulled back on the requirement for nonprofit, and we were allowing more and more people to put things on our fences because we're pretty far out here, and we felt like there were things that beyond the walls of the classroom and the school that kids needed in our community. So fast forward 6 years, and now there's a lot of different things up on our fences that meet the spirit of and the mission of what we do in schools, but there's a lot of for-profit companies that are putting things up on our fences. And I brought that forward, and the task that I was assigned is we'll come up with a banner fee schedule that kind of matches what we do with the facilities. So you'll see that I think you have it in your folder. I just organized it very similar to our tier structure for facilities, and I thought that we could adjust, at a fair point, where there's a break in the year, or maybe the new year, or even the next school year, whatever this group feels is appropriate. We can change up and go to this fee structure, and I'll go through it. It's shaped just like what we do with facilities. LUSD organizations, there would be no cost. LUSD organizations put banners up for, foundation fundraisers and things like that all the time, which is totally appropriate. And then youth groups, government agencies, nonprofits would still be a zero fee. And then for-profit organizations or commercial businesses would be $30 a month. One of the things I also mentioned is we have a number of organizations from outside of Mountain House putting stuff up on our fences, from Tracy, from Livermore, et cetera. And I think that if we start with this, I think that'll be good. But I think at a later date, we might want to analyze, all right, do we just want to support maybe Mountain House and Tracy organizations, because that's our community? I don't know why somebody from Livermore needs to come over here and put a banner up on our fences when they have 18 schools over in Livermore. So this is my first blush at this. And
Another possibility might be Tracy and Mountain House for-profits pay $30 a month, and everybody else from farther out pays 50 or 60 or...
Okay.
Anyway, whenever it's decided to put this into effect, letters should probably go out to any current banner holders saying, as of this date, the new fee structure will kick in. So take your banner down, or we will.
Yeah, and one of the things that in the board policy and actually on the form that they fill out, it notes the board policy and the fact that we as a school district have a right to control what is put up on our fences, and where it's put. So one of the things that I think I'm going to do for Questa is suggest to the principal they move the banners around the corner on the other fence line, so it's not right in the front of the school, because it really is an eyesore until we kind of get things more in control. But before we take any action, I will come back with this fee structure again and review it with the group. And I think we'll have to take it to the full board as well, just like we do with anything else, before we send anything out to the community to make changes. So, everybody good with that?
Everybody good with that? Yep.
I think it's really fair. I mean, there's, our schools have 700, 800 kids, and they have, 700, 800 parents pass by every day.
Yeah.
Let alone people that live in the neighborhood that don't have kids. So.
Well, there's basically nowhere you can get any type of advertising for $30 a month.
Yes, fair enough.
$1 per day.
So I would come back with a couple of changes just to the banner authorization form, and perhaps an attachment that has the fee structure. And I'll make the change that was suggested at a later date. Does that work for everybody?
Yeah.
One question is that, like, let's say a non-profit, right? If they can keep the banner for all 12 months, keep right there, just keep it and keep along?
No,
Or
there's-
maybe we have some limit, like.
There's a time limit. They have to renew.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a time limit. And they have to manage their own banners. If it rips or comes down, they have to come and fix it and get it upright in a timely fashion, or they can be billed, or we just have the custodians take it down.
We are monitoring, right? Okay, thank you.
Moving on to item D, Facilities Committee tentative meeting, December 14th, 2023. Staff report?
So I don't know if we have items to talk about on the 14th. Our next meeting is February 1st after that. If we want to have the meeting, we can. If we don't feel like we need the meeting, we don't need the meeting. It was put on the schedule as a tentative. Last year, we had 4 meetings in the year. We put 6 on the schedule this year in case we needed to adjudicate any problems with rentals or anything like that. So I brought it forward to see if the group wants to have the meeting or not. There it went.
Personally, I'm fine with not having the meeting unless something comes up, in which case we can schedule it. Otherwise, I think we should be, my opinion, we're good until after the first of the year.
Yeah,
Great. Okay.
agreed?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think that's all in agreement there.
Besides that, Stephanie and I have enough meetings between now and the end of the year.
You have a lot of meetings coming up. Yeah.
Yeah. Item 6, future agenda topics and meeting dates. Item A, future agenda topics. Is there a staff report for that, or?
No, just agenda topics. There's a couple that have popped up that'll come through the superintendent, and yeah, if there's any topics that the group would like brought forward.
I had mentioned to Associate Superintendent Harrison that the tennis nets look a little tattered, and I think, my opinion is that's something that we could use facilities use funds to replace. So
Being that the community uses the tennis courts the entire time that our kids don't.
yeah, they get more use out of it than our kids do, I think.
I can bring that to the next facilities committee and then to the board meeting after that.
Okay,
Is that what you'd like? Okay, I'll do that.
as long as everybody is in agreement.
Any other future agenda topics that you would like to have discussed?
If I can, the other thing that I'll bring is pictures of the work that was done to the pool area so that everybody can see the facilities use fees, what they were used for. I mean, I think it's going to be really nice.
I haven't seen it after the cement was put in. I saw it when it was formed up. It looked like it was,
Looks,
Yeah, the construction guys changed the direction that we originally wanted the pathway because the grade was too steep going straight out. So for ADA, we had to give it a little turn and go back so that we met the requirements for ADA for the
slope.
slope.
and while you're reporting on pool, I would love to see some photos of the scuba diver changing the lights out in the pool. I was tempted to offer up Trustee Clements because he is a certified scuba diver. But that's pretty fascinating how complicated that is, and that was going to be my suggestion is, change the lights in the pool. But you're on it.
We are.
So, hearing no other ideas.
I can't
Jason,
think of anything
anything?
right now.
Okay, so item B, 2023, 2024 meeting dates. We're going to forego the meeting on December 14th unless something urgent creeps up. And so our next meeting is February 1st, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. in the district office boardroom. And then March 14th is another tentative meeting, 6:30 p.m. in the district office board meeting if needed. And May 9th will be the last meeting of the, what do you call it, the season, the term of school year.
The season, yeah.
Yeah,
Fiscal year.
yeah, fiscal year. So, moving on to item 7, adjournment of the facilities committee meeting. We are adjourned at 7:04.